episode number 50. So it's a little bit of a woohoo, episode 50.
There we go. 50 is a big number.
Yeah. So I'm going to be asking you some questions about AvMaps.
Please.
Because I think not a lot of people understand what's going on with this space thing, including me. Actually, I started reading more about space like in the last 2 weeks. I didn't actually realize that a lot of satellite data is actually available to the public and to like people from the normal. It's not only for the military. That's what I'm trying to say. I thought it was only.
Yeah, satellite data historically has been for the military, and the military plays its role. But like, if you actually look at what we have, it's a scary amount of data, and like the power and the ability that the amount of things that we can do with this kind of data is unreal. I mean, like these satellites are completely free to access. You don't need to make real registrations or have government approval. And they fly pretty frequently over the Earth. Like I'm talking about update once every 4 days, give or take, right? So you can see, like imagine a construction site, a building being built. The thing like flies over the Earth every 4 days, and you'll see almost on a faster than week by week basis how a building is being built out. So we have a lot of good and clean information and data that we can use to build products and help the world. And
absolutely, one of the most famous platforms that people can actually use is actually Google Earth, but the desktop version, because I understood that the desktop version has more clear images than the web-based one.
Yeah, usually desktop applications are quite a bit more powerful. Like for example, I would even use like Google Earth, like the desktop engine, to like do rocket modeling trajectories, like into orbit flights.
You can actually do that?
Yeah.
What? Wow.
You record all of the points and like at what time step each point is, like in its position, and then you can just give it to Google Earth, and it'll be like, oh yeah, this is what it would look like, and you're like, oh my god.
Okay, so let's just get the basics. So basically, what I read about in the last 2 weeks. So first of all, there are like several orbits around Earth, and you've got like satellites and like different orbits, right? Like you've got ones that are more closer to Earth and ones that are like in the geostationary orbit, right?
Yeah.
So which satellites do you use for the things that you do?
So we use a set of satellites. They're called the Sentinel group or constellation of satellites.
I've seen this Sentinel thing when I look at hiking maps. So can you tell me more about this thing, Sentinel?
So Sentinel is a constellation. What I mean by that is just literally a group of like a number of satellites, right? There's about 9 of them now. And each one does a specific thing, like a different thing. And when we look at these like hiking maps or just any kind of real-time map, what it does is the Sentinel satellite flies over the Earth, takes like a picture the same way our camera does, and then just stores it on the internet, and then you can like grab the latest Google Earth picture that like you normally see, except Google Earth will like update for some reason once every year or two. I don't know why they do that, but
so also just to clarify, so it's a constellation because basically one satellite needs how much time to orbit the Earth?
One satellite depends on how far away the satellite is from the Earth, right? So geostationary means it doesn't move at all from the perspective of the ground viewer, right? But if you're super close to the Earth, right, the thing just orbits really, really quickly. So when we're talking about those satellites, which Sentinel is, 90 minutes. You orbit the Earth 90 minutes. Imagine that we're in a plane.
And when it's a constellation, it's basically almost constantly observing the Earth. Am I getting it right?
Pretty much, It's almost constantly observing the Earth. So like as one passes over, right, then the next one is going to be like half a day behind it. So then the moment it goes to the other side of the Earth, right, or like half a period is the more technical word, half a period behind it. The other one, as soon as it passes, the next one will come over, and then they keep on following each other like that.
Okay, that explains a lot. So you're basically using the data from this constellation Sentinel, right?
Yep.
Can you just give me also a brief history? This thing Sentinel, this constellation, who does it belong to, like officially? Who launched it? And
it's completely funded, which congrats to ESA. It's completely funded by the European Space Agency. They have like $7.5 billion yearly budget. 25% of that yearly budget goes only into those satellites. and we have it for free. Like that data is for free. It's $1 billion project to build, maintain, store the data, have it accessible to everybody, and it's free for all, not even European Union citizens, just citizens like humans.
Humankind, yeah.
Yeah, free for all humankind.
Yeah, and is there like an official website for this data, or you can just check it out on like Google Earth? Or
yeah, you can, there is. It's called Copernicus, is where you would go.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to copernicus.eu, I believe, then we can post a link.
Yeah.
Copernicus.eu, and then you can actually start seeing all the different kinds of satellites and different spectral bands, which just means like you can see an RGB, or you can see an infrared, you can see even further out from infrared and different things like that. So it's really not just pictures. You can see a lot of cool stuff, which allows us to like, by measuring different wavelengths, which is what RGB, like the visual wavelength is, we can see whether a forest is healthy or not, right? So when we say the Brazilian rainforest is like being cut off, like being cut down and it's hurting and dying in a way, it's because we can measure the level of photosynthesis that the Brazilian rainforest is having by these satellites. It's epic, the things that we can do with these things. Yeah,
and also there's another, I have, because when I've checked like hiking maps, Google Earth, there's also one more satellite, I think constellation or something, Landsat. Can you explain more about
so that's so we have the Sentinel constellation, right? And then each one of them has their name. So the Sentinel 1, 2, and 5, and one of them is called Landsat, right? And Landsat,
what do you mean one of them? Like one of the satellites?
Yeah, literally one of the satellites is called Landsat, and then it would like, its job is to categorize the different kinds of lands that we have, right? Hence Landsat. So if we have like if we have pastures for farming, right?
Yeah.
That's one type of like land classification. If we have a forest, that's another kind. If we have a different kind of forest, maybe it's a boreal forest versus a pine forest, right? That's again another, maybe we have urban areas, right?
Yeah.
And then we can have all of these categories, and it tells you in these like pretty little boxes, hey, look, this is what this is, right?
Yeah.
And we use that for our classifications as well, to bring it back into AvMaps to actually see in the mountain where are the forests.
Okay, and so I it's a little bit of a, but why is it not included in the Sentinel? Like I don't get it really, the Landsat thing.
It measures a different spectral bands, I believe, which is like Sentinel again is the constellations, right? Yeah. So Sentinel 2 is the one that's really common that has the RGB bands. Landsat will have different kinds of sensors on board that allows us to actually have these classifiers.
All right, and so also another question, because I saw on your website that you have this thing, SAR, I think it was called, right?
SAR, yes.
Yeah, so you basically take two types of imagery, if I'm... Yeah, so the first one is like the regular one, right? And the second one is this SAR. Can you explain what this SAR thing is?
So SAR is synthetic aperture radar. And let's forget about the first two acronyms of what synthetic aperture is. It's a radar, right? The same way how we track planes and boats and how the military might be used to like track aircraft in its own personal airspace. What it's going to do is launch a radio signal, right? An electromagnetic beam, and then see what reflects out at it, right? So we have a satellite that's literally just a radar orbiting around the Earth, launching these radar pulses onto the Earth, and then recording what comes back at it. And if you do that enough times, I kid you not, you can literally make an image out of radar signals, right? Wow, and you can do really wicked and crazy, it's almost like black magic type stuff that you can do with it, right? So we use that to detect where the snow is, where the ice is, water, like snow depths, all these kind of parameters that you can't just see by taking a regular like RGB image. And
how advanced is like this technology for like civil uses? Like if I like go on the street, can you see me through the satellites?
No, we can't.
or only the military can use such optics to zoom in like on a street level.
Like here's the next scary thing. If you have money, and I don't mean stupid money, I mean like $1,000 kind of money, you can buy satellite images of some point, like in Sofia that we are now, with enough resolution that I can see and identify people. I'm talking about 10 centimeter resolutions.
But you're telling me for like commercial uses?
Yeah.
So you're basically telling me that wherever I am on this planet Earth, I cannot hide. Yeah, is it something like that? Okay, that's something interesting. I didn't know that the technology of satellites is that advanced.
We have, we have thousands at this point now, thousands of optical satellites in orbit in space, right? We have Starlink, which is super famous, and there are something like 8,000 just communication satellites, right? But you have Planet Lab and Maxar and all the other satellite providers that build and maintain their own satellites that you can, they just sell you, like if you want, they'll sell you the images of a 20 by 20 kilometer square of whatever you'd like, and it's at 10 centimeter resolution. So each pixel is 10 centimeter, like how long is a human, how wide is half a meter? So 5 pixels already is identified as a person.
Wow. Right? And it's gonna get even cheaper and cheaper maybe.
So, this is publicly available information. So if I can buy 10 centimeter satellites, I don't want to hypothesize what the military can actually do behind closed doors.
They may be even watching you inside your home, what you're doing with like infrared and stuff. So I don't know. Probably. I mean,
technology is really powerful. Is what it feels like living in it. It feels honestly like the AI boom, and I don't want to use the hype terminology that we've gotten so accustomed to. But like before LLMs were a thing, it was like, oh yeah, we can do some deep learning things and like object segmentation, and then like 2 years later, you had LLMs that kind of just like we've gotten used to them now, and we use them pretty much daily. Satellites kind of feels like that because there's so much power now within them, and they're publicly accessible, and I can build on top of them as people like me are doing now.
So basically the questions that I'm asking is just to give a context to the audience about how advanced is this satellite technology. And now we're gonna dive deeper into AvMap, the startup you're doing. So first of all, people who go hiking, who like check the mountains and everything else, they've probably heard about ATIS maps. Let's first talk about what exactly are these ATIS maps. Do you happen to know the abbreviation? What is it?
Avalanche Terrain Exposure Scale.
Okay, why are they so important in the mountains?
So AvMaps are specifically, or ATIS maps is the other way, are specifically created for the layman mountaineer who, let's say if I'm going to Mont Blanc, it's my first time, I have a map that tells me, okay, this is the route. And if I'm lucky, I have a topographic map, and if I know how to read it, I can be like, okay, I can start guessing where the avalanche scale, like where the risks are, just by the density of like the lines on a topographic map. But in ATIS map, what it does, it tells you in like literally black and white terms, this area is green, so don't worry really too much. I mean, you're in a mountain, so like have your wits about you, but don't worry too much about an avalanche. Then you have, that's a simple terrain. Then you have the challenging terrain, which is like, okay, if weather conditions are bad in this area, don't start making stupid decisions because you could trigger an avalanche, right? That's your like orange. Then you have like your complex terrain, which is like, you're in pretty much Goldilocks area for how risky this place is. So avoid this area if you can. Don't make stupid decisions. And then you have your extreme one where it's like, not only is there a potential of having an avalanche, there's a potential of having multiple avalanches running out into you, and it's the ideal condition that an avalanche would happen. So there's no reason whatsoever to find yourself in those areas. Right?
Yeah, and what the basic premise of these maps is that they're basically static, right? Like it's just colored in this red, green, and yellow, and that's it, right?
Pretty much, yes. It's so you have this kind of you have these different color-coded areas for the mountain, and then like obviously in the summertime you don't have to worry about an avalanche happening.
Absolutely.
So the goal is you look at this and then you see the weather conditions, and then you'll know, okay, can I take the risk from simple into challenging terrain, or if it's really bad weather, don't really bother to go into challenging terrain. Just stay on the simple terrain, right? It's to help. It's a decision aid tool once you're in the mountains and you have the weather in front of you as your added signal.
So basically, what you're doing with AvMap is you're giving an analysis of the conditions in the mountain, using satellites to make something like an avalanche report, right? So the difference between an ATIS map and your map is that yours is more with dynamic data.
Yes. So what we do is we combine the satellite data, which gives us our point of truth, and then you would feed that through a physics model, essentially solving the thermodynamic and fluid dynamic properties of snow to see what is the release chances of some kind of slope releasing this mass of snow and then falling by gravity down and reaching you. So then the satellite actually enables us to give higher points of truth given its measurements.
And this is basically using which technology of the satellites?
So we use we have to use quite a bit of the parameters for it, right? So we use what we talked about earlier before, SAR, synthetic aperture radar, or Sentinel-1, as what the name of the satellite is that uses it. This is going to give us essentially going to tell us about the snow properties themselves, right? Then we also use Sentinel-2, which is going to take a regular RGB image plus a couple other bands that will tell us where the snow physically is. And then what we do is we also use the digital terrain models and as well as meteorological data, right, and solve those problems. Combine all of these. I mean, I'm not joking, maybe like 50 parameters that we have to take into account to tell you what the risk levels are, right? To actually have it in this kind of real-time way so that the user knows, even in like, they don't have to rely on reading the weather to see what the chances are of an avalanche happening, but the maps will tell you themselves. This is the current weather. Here's what the data tells us. Don't go on point X, Y, and Z. And it's worth noting that we can do this at a 10-meter resolution, while traditional avalanche reports would work on a regional area. So if I'm in Switzerland, some particular canton, which is hundreds by hundreds of kilometers long, or entire mountain regions, not just mountain passes, would be like green or red or orange or black in terms of its danger level. We solve that problem into the finer resolution once the hiker is in the mountain, already at the area of contention, let's say.
Yeah, and who do you think is gonna be like the ideal scenario user for this thing? Because I'm thinking that people who write free ride, they're gonna be definitely conservative towards this technology and these reports, because they mainly rely on checking the terrain in the field. So do you think they would take into account those reports that you publish?
I certainly think so. It's the same way as like, would they look at the weather, right? Do they look at the weather forecast? Would they look at the avalanche forecast for us, right? We just give them a better decision tool for once they're in the mountains themselves. Currently, what they have to do is, if they're hiking or about to hike in some mountain, to see what the risk level is, they have to hike to the top, because if they start testing at the very bottom, right, they could trigger an avalanche, the whole thing falls on them. So you have to climb up to a safe point on the mountain, start doing measurements all yourself. So you have to be trained on that as well, right? So only pros really know. I mean, pros, they only know how to actually test the different stability layers of the snow. And then, okay, you'll have to test that for every single slope that you do. It's ineffective when it can be done using computational models already.
Yeah, and you also said something else which is very valuable, that you're also tracking the path of the avalanche. Because, okay, so the slope can be like this, and okay, can be colored in red. But the avalanche can continue for like maybe 100 meters or even more. Right. That's a big thing that you have to like. You don't find just the area of where the snow will release. Like that's one half of the problem. But then the other one is, okay, let's say that area does release. Where does it stop? Because I don't want to be anywhere before it stops. Right. So you have to solve these. It's a really physics heavy problem that you have to do for the entire mountain, and to see where even like two avalanches could connect together, and then you have even more flow out. So it's an interesting problem. Yeah, definitely. And can you also do the same for other natural phenomena? Like, let's say another problem is maybe landslides. They're very similar in nature to avalanches, sort of. Can you also predict, let's say, if there's been torrential rain, if, let's say, some area, maybe in the Rhodope Mountains or something, is gonna like cause a landslide and maybe close a road or something?
It's
or is it too much data to be analyzed?
It's kind of like this. Once you have the data, and I mean by the data, you have the satellites that are already in orbit recording these things. It's a little bit like it's a technology, right? The same way how AI, the same way how internet was, the same way even a car is, right? A car can take you from point A to point B, but it can also like haul livestock, right? So you solve multiple problems with a technology class. The same way how I'm solving a particular problem with landslides. If I have the technology, which is a satellite in there, I can solve flooding problems. People do this already, right? They solve flooding problems. They can do landslide problems, right? They would use informametrics SAR for this, right? Where you actually measure like centimeter by centimeter how the ground changes, and you can predict whether some part of the mountain is going to release days before it actually does. It's epic things that we can do now.
And because you said that you've already done the model for peering, can you explain why specifically just for peering? And is it possible to like automate this thing that you're doing? Like, if you know what I mean, like, if you've done for Rio and peering, can you do for like Staraponina, like without lifting your finger? If you've, I don't know, I'm not a technical person. Like, can you just tell the software program or the AI, I don't know what exactly you're doing, like some kind of a science magic? Like, can you just like,
it feels like science magic sometimes.
It's like with ChatGPT, like, okay, here's what I've done for peering. Can you do this for like Staraponina?
I mean, like, in one word, yeah, we can. That's the beauty of it. I mean, it's like, math is valid for all kinds of math. So is physics. One atom of oxygen in one end of the room is the same type of atom of oxygen in the other end of the room, right? So what I'm saying is the laws that are applied to one mountain, essentially, if you know those principles that apply to the mountain, they apply to the other mountain as well. It's just, you have to tune some parameters, but then like they're not fundamentally different, right? You're solving the same class of problems. So peering, why we chose peering is because it's super accessible. It's super prone to avalanches. I keep on getting news about like what's happening recently, which is more motivation to actually solve this problem. I mean, in Europe, there's something like 150 fatalities per year. Year on this
Especially
problem.
This week, there were like, I don't know, maybe 10 fatalities or something. There was even an avalanche that swept through like a ski resort in Italy. And that's also a very interesting thing if it could be predicted, because I don't know if you saw the video, the avalanche basically hit the ground and then the snow sort of lifted into this sort of cloud of snow, which is like, I mean, that's crazy. Like,
it's I mean, these are powerful mechanics that are happening.
So back to the point, why exactly have you done only for peering and not also for RILA?
Quality of data. We talked about satellite data that we use, but we need also really good models of the mountain, like topographically what I'm speaking about. So we have sub 10 meter topographical mountains of Pirin, and it's really close to us. So when we go there, we do the modeling, we can actually easily validate what's happening and are our calculations correct, right? That's a big point. And when you do these models, you have to have some kind of like feedback to tell you, okay, what I did, is it correct or is it not correct? So Pirin is this place where we already know where the avalanches are. We have a catalog of dates and histories with them, so then we can be confident in our solutions and give that out to the public once we have the correct solutions.
I also have another question. Is it possible for these models to be even more accurate if you have some technology, like some kind of sensors that you put into the mountain in like different places and they track the snow? I don't know if that's possible. I'm just improvising on. Is it possible?
That's actually what Switzerland does. They, to their credit, they've installed thousands of sensors all over the country. So at key avalanche points, which measure the snow depth and its density and how much water the snow contains per cubic meter. And then you can say, okay, I know that the temperature is rising. There's quite a bit of snow here, and I even know the different layers of the snow. So the probability of it like the avalanche releasing is quite high in this region. So like they've solved the problem of me physically going up into the mountain using like robotics or sensors or embedded systems. But that's not really scalable unless you put a sensor at every single point of interest that you want. And even then, we would solve that problem at a 10 meter resolution. They don't have sensors on the ground every 10 meters at every point in Switzerland, right? So it's solving the same class of problem with a different approach.
Okay, and maybe one final question is, how are users going to access your, is it an app or is it like, what would you call it actually?
We simply do the actual calculations and we have an endpoint API for it, right? So users, especially in Bulgaria, go access hiker.bg. There we have an integration with them where you can do your point-to-point navigation, and then in the wintertime when you're worried about hiking in Pirin you'll be able to have you'll be able to communicate with our maps and have it overlaid onto your mobile phone directly. So yeah, the end users are going to use whatever apps they feel most comfortable with, and then it will be like an added feature for them to be able to actually see the Avalanche terrain maps directly into whatever app they're looking for. Through collaboration.
Also, you wanted to add something that you were accepted in a very interesting program in the summer.
Yes. So as we're talking about dynamic data and having these things evolve in time, whether it's a lot of snowfall or if there's rainfall, and then these things, the risk of an avalanche happening, whether the temperature rises and there's quite a bit of rain. I'll be working directly with the European Space Agency to actually be developing these models through their also gracious funding. So we have close collaboration with our homeland space agency, ESA, to bring this out to the future or to the public rather. But it is a future thing that's happening. So we can try and reduce some of these fatalities that are happening in Europe and in the world.
And also, I have one more question. Maybe a lot of people will be thinking, because in Bulgaria we have a leading satellite producer like Endurosat. Many people are probably asking themselves, have you contacted Endurosat? Can they be valuable in this in this app that you're building? Can you share if you've talked with Raichu and stuff like that?
Raichu certainly knows, and Viktor Danchev, they know about what interesting things are happening inside the space world, especially locally here in Bulgaria. If they're willing to build me my personal satellite that has my ideal sensors on board that I can get even better data, I mean, I'm all for it. After all, the cost of satellites is going down quite a bit. I mean, before that, they used to cost hundreds of millions. Now they're in the low hundreds of thousands.
Just to clarify also for the audience, if people don't know, basically Endurosat is like a producer of really, really small satellites. Like they're
not even really small anymore. They go up to half a ton.
But I'm talking like because people, when they hear satellites, maybe they imagine like something enormous, and basically Endurosat builds. How big is like the smallest satellite of Endurosat? Do you have any idea?
The smallest satellite that they can make, that they will sell you, is what's classically called as a CubeSat. Right? It's a 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter satellite, which is literally this tiny thing floating in space. And then they can go all the way up to 1 meter by 2 meters is give or take what they're kind of what they're building. So bigger satellite, more payload, better cameras, bigger solar panels, you can do more interesting things. They're one of the fastest producing satellite manufacturers in Europe, and if not even in the world. They're impressive in that sense. So back to the question. Do they know about you, like Raichu? I think you said that you spoke to him. I've specifically spoken with their CTO Viktor Danchev about how we're progressing as a company, and he gave us his feedback. So we have contact, and as well in our local university, they come and give their opinions on how things are going. So.
So you've positioned yourself well in the local space ecosystem here in Bulgaria and hopefully in Europe. You can also share your experience with CASSINI in Brussels.
So my entire journey started off with this by winning the competition of CASSINI. Their hackathon specifically about 6 months ago now. Where it's 1,000 engineers gather from 10 different countries to build a business idea using space data. And I had the good fortune or the good wits to win this, which then put me quite quickly on the fast track to building this company out, which then brought me out to Belgium for more Earth observation training, which then ended up for me actually founding this company, which then now I'm working closely with the European Space Agency, and I'll be living in Rome for the next foreseeable future to develop that directly in-house with them. And then, building it's been a fast ride.
Okay, sounds great. And do you have any other like future, I don't know, dreams or plans for developing space technologies or something like that? I don't know. I mean, first thing that comes to my mind, do you want to create satellites or something like that? I don't know.
I want to ride a satellite.
I mean,
I really want to ride. I want to be in that satellite. Is where like if you have to project like 20
do you want to become an astronaut or something?
Oh God, yes. Oh my God.
Really? Well, no. I don't.
Without a joke. Without a joke.
Really? Well.
Yeah. I mean, most definitely. We're living.
Maybe you should go to the military, because I read that a lot of people from the military become astronauts.
You would be surprised how many hours I've actually thought about joining. Wanted, when I was the end of high school, I was this close to handing in my papers to join the Canadian military, is where I'm originally from Canada.
Yeah.
So the Canadian military, but turns out I'm colorblind. So that's a big problem to be a fighter pilot. And you can only, like, if you're going the classic route, you can only become a fighter pilot. Is one of your best chances to actually get into the ISS. But we live in the 21st century and things are awesome at this point. So you can either do the class, like there's really three routes, a couple routes. One, be a fighter pilot, like actually command the space shuttle at the time to get there. Two, you have to be a mission specialist. That means be super, super smart, have a doctorate or multiple, to be super crucial for whatever payload they're going to send to the ISS, right? For an example, in Canada, our last pilot, or one of our last pilots that we chose, was a PhD in aerospace engineering, did some cool rocket stuff, then became an MD, so a doctor of surgery, as well. So he's a doctor and a PhD in aerospace engineering, and then that's what got him his slot. So he's got like 20 years of just specialized training before he got his astronaut training.
Can you say some final words as to, I'm very interested, how do you see the space industry in Bulgaria, and what would you say to like young people? Why should they like focus on, I mean, people when they hear in Bulgaria, they hear space technologies and satellites, they're like, oh, this is something very far away from me. Why should people start being more interested in space technology and maybe start learning, I don't know, computer science and things like that, which would take you on this route? I don't know. Can you say, what do you think is the future of space, the space industry in Bulgaria?
The space industry in Bulgaria, it has strong potential, and we've taken a number of good and correct decisions. Yeah. And we have a couple of the necessary initial conditions to grow quite well here, actually. Bulgaria is pretty business friendly, and Europe as a larger whole is now really focused in developing its space technology, because it realized, geopolitically speaking, that it can't rely on outside sources for its own technology. So we have the necessary engineers, we have good computer scientists and programmers. We're actually quite good in electronics, which space is heavy in electronics. So we have the necessary knowledge to build this hardware, as we see in Endurosat and other space-based companies, which is not just myself, and then you also have the global conditions necessary and the demand from the wider sector to develop these things. I think it was Ursula von der Leyen released $900 billion into defense and security spending. Something like 40% of that, is going only into space. Right? What about all the other fields? Like, so it's becoming this major asset. And if we look at it, if we can even zoom out a little bit more from the philosophical realm, humanity first developed its technologies locally in the cities. Then we went exploring. Once we explored the old continent, we went to the new continent. We have this natural innate desire in ourselves to understand more of what is around us and for exploration. If we want the natural next frontier out of like the new world being America, is now low Earth orbit. And from there on out, once we low Earth orbit is the lowest high stakes thing that we have to do before we can go interplanetary. Right? And if we even read from a policy point of view, what America, the European Union has signed in, Russia and China, where their policies are. For example, the Artemis Accords, right? These policy decisions are already laying out the groundwork for foundational laws on the moon and on Mars. So before we get there, we have to master low Earth orbit, which is what the game field that we've been talking about with Sentinel for now is. once we learn that, then we can go interplanetary and things become truly wild. So it's...
Let's hope to see that in our lifetime. Unfortunately, we have to end because the next lecture will be beginning here in this room. So
until
it
next
was
time,
really
my
cool.
friends.
So sorry for interrupting you, but this is the end of this episode.
Cheers.
Okay.